Hi, my name is Lauren Siegel, and welcome to episode 1 of Silver Linings, where we'll cover how and why to lead with empathy. I'm not sure if you know this, but we recently celebrated How Are You Day. Essentially, it's a day that's supposed to remind us to not only ask those around us, how are you? Not to just be friendly in passing, but to hear the real answer, to create space for people to share their real feelings. And in the same respect, it's also an opportunity to answer honestly and not just with a fake smile and I'm fine, how are you? That is a beautiful sentiment and an opportunity that should be welcomed. However, if you were to ask me right now, so how are you really? I'd honestly think to myself, how am I really? And the answer was something along the lines of, you know what? I have not a freaking clue how I really am. How are you feels like a very loaded question these days. Our world right now is complicated. There is a lot going on. You can feel the heaviness in the air. You can watch it on TV. You can see it at work and at home. There is a collective exhaustion. We are emotionally and physically tired. When the pandemic first hit, our nervous systems were prepared. This is what they were made for. We went into fight or flight mode. We felt a collective surge of adrenaline, and we did what we do best. We came together, we adjusted, we met the needs presented. Through all of the chaos, we stayed true to our values, to teamwork, to integrity, to putting patients first, to excellence, and to compassion. The kicker? The dust never really settled. Our nervous systems have not been given the opportunity to calm down. And let me let you in on a little secret. Our bodies are not meant to stay in fight or flight mode. We do not have infinite amounts of energy. And now we find ourselves running on autopilot with little sleep and increased stress. And it's just not sustainable. We're all trying to adjust to this new normal, yet we're failing to recognize that our needs aren't being met. Cue freshman year psychology class and enter Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow said that we're unable to fill the needs of the next tier until the needs of the former have been met or satisfied. The bottom tier, our physiological needs, are the strongest. These include things like our ability to find food, water, shelter, our ability to breathe. The next tier are safety needs, which includes things like employment and resources, our support systems, our health, etc. The two bottom tiers of this triangle are the biggest because they are the most important. These are our basic human needs, and right now, they're not being met. Brené Brown, a renowned researcher of courage, shame, vulnerability, and empathy, in one of her recent podcast episodes, discusses how we're operating from a place of fear and scarcity in both our personal and professional lives. These patterns are oftentimes more easily identifiable at home as it relates to children, or choosing which friends and family you see or don't see, or having to order groceries online instead of risking exposure at the store. Those are easy examples to point to. But what comes up for you when I ask how this is impacting your work life, your professional relationships? Up to 1/3 of our lives is spent at work. That is a lot of time. When our basic needs, our physiological and safety needs, are not being met, that is manifested through our performance as employees. How can we bring our best selves to work when we're concerned for our own well-being and the well-being of those we love? And maybe the answer is that we can't. And maybe the response to that is it's okay. As an organization, as a work family, we need to name that. We need to recognize that. We need to understand the impact that that has on us as a whole. As a society, we're constantly told to lean into work, to work harder, to achieve more, to push through. But not only are our personal gas tanks on empty, but so is our collective gas tank. The bus that you can take sometimes when your car breaks down. The safety net you don't usually need to rely on, but know that it's there. That tank is on empty as well. Yet we're still pushing. We have now gotten out of the bus and are physically pushing it down the street, hitting every pothole along the way. When we fail to recognize that our tanks are empty, we minimize those feelings through comparison. We say things to ourselves like, I'm tired and stressed, but I know there are people out of work right now. Or, I'm running on 2 hours of sleep, but how can I complain when James just lost his grandma and can't even grieve with family? Comparison is the thief of joy. And unfortunately, Our culture is built around comparison. Whether it's scrolling through social media or comparing a coworker's productivity to your own, we are constantly judging ourselves based on our view of others. In 2014, a study out of the Netherlands came out discussing what they named the overpowering effect of social comparison information. They state that there are two fundamental comparison standards: your past history and experiences, and the performance of other people. This study found that people can engage in both comparison processes, but that social comparison is likely to be the main driver of an individual's self-evaluation. We rank our own feelings and experiences by our perception of the feelings and experiences of those around us. Think about that for a minute. They go on to discuss that it takes more cognitive energy and resources to discount social comparison information than it does to rely on it. And we already don't have enough energy or resources. And what does this lead to? Feelings of shame. We feel unworthy. We don't allow ourselves to feel because we rank our experiences lower than others. We don't think we have the right to feel what we are feeling. And that's where shame comes in. Brené Brown says that the antidote to shame is empathy. And what is the antidote to feeling unworthy? Self-compassion, which I know sounds so cheesy, but bear with me. Shame is an egocentric emotion. It draws our attention inwards. It forces us to default to comparison and operate from a place of defensiveness. But empathy is an other-focused emotion. It draws our attention outwards towards another person's experience. It forces us to operate from a place of understanding and compassion. More times than not, when we're operating from a place of shame and unworthiness, it manifests at work as frustration and unthoughtful reactions and competitive behavior. On the other hand, operating from a place of empathy and self-compassion manifests at work as patience, thoughtful responses, and teamwork. Those are two totally different work environments. So, what do we do, right? That's the big question. I think that the first step is naming it. It's addressing the simple fact that we are all trying our best, but we're running on empty. My favorite professor used a hysterical analogy that I'll never forget. She explained that when a coworker, or anyone for that matter, snaps at you, a typical response is to react in a similar tone, or to take that statement personally. But what if a coworker snapped at you, and before responding, you thought to yourself, you know what? Maybe they really have to poop, and that's the real reason they snapped. You would respond a lot differently. You are more likely to chuckle to yourself and then respond in a professional manner instead of a personal one, because you feel for their experience. That is leading with empathy. That is recognizing that we all are dealing with things we can't always see. That is realizing that maybe everyone deserves the benefit of the doubt. And perhaps we should approach every negative encounter that way. And maybe more of those encounters would turn into positive ones, or at the very least, make us laugh. So, the silver lining is that we have been given an opportunity to honor and to recognize our own feelings, and in turn, lead with empathy, extending that same experience to others.